I started filming 10 years ago when I received a phone call from my father's girlfriend notifying me that he had an accident. He shattered his wrist and he broke his pelvis, and that I should come. Very ambivalently I went, but I went with a camera, and that's basically where the film began. It was the first time in my life that I got called to his side. He left me when I was a baby. It's not that I didn't have any relationship with him, but it was a very unsatisfying relationship, sort of neither absent nor present. And something about that felt like a year zero, like a pivotal moment that might shift. And the movie began there, and the real movie begins there. By definition, the process of making the movie was an excuse to maintain an ongoing relationship, and it brought us much closer together. I visited him regularly. He made himself available and accessible to me. We had a common project. We had a common something that was engaging us together. So yeah, it changed everything. Now that the movie's finished, it's shifting again because we no longer have that as an organizing principle for our relationship. So there's some distance as a result, and now we're sitting there with the movie done between us, maybe in some ways asking ourselves, okay, well, what now? And there'll be plenty from now, but it's all new. So we have yet to see sort of where it goes, you know. I think 10 years ago when I started making the movie, he had this accident. It wasn't clear if he's a guitarist, if he was ever going to be able to play the guitar again. Within a year, he adopted his fifth child. Somebody had his fifth child by way of adoption. It seemed like everything was shifting and everything was going to happen. But those were actually and those were the two first things I filmed. And that was sort of the end of the action. And after that, it was all kind of a floating life story that covers, 50 years and a lot of events, but not in real time while I was filming. And I hung around for a long time waiting for something to happen. And then I, toward the end, understood that the only person that was actually going to be going through a change in this movie was me. And it was an internal change, and it was going to be an attitudinal change, and that it was really all boiled down to one thing. This is my father. What am I going to do with him? And that it was up to me. And then, in a sense, my character in the film was born out of understanding that the only person that had a drama to go through in the film was me, the filmmaker. Everybody in the film so far has been unconditionally supportive, but it expresses itself in different ways. Some people are very involved and following, what's happening now that the film has been born and it's growing up and it's going to festivals and who's buying it and where will it be broadcast and so on. And some people are keeping a very safe distance. Nobody has rejected it. It's tricky because I've been told by people that there's an ideal number of protagonists that any film can contain for the audience to be able to identify, and that's 3. And I have a nuclear family of 11, 10 of whom appear in the movie. And I had to find a way to include all of them, and we're talking about an hour-and-a-half movie. So just, do the math, divide an hour and a half by 10 or 11 people. There's only so much depth. And somehow I managed to reach some kind of a cardinal truth or touch an essence about each of those characters in a way that works. But you always feel like it's just a sliver of reality. It's a sliver of truth. It's a sliver of, of the totality that is someone's life. Take the women, for example. My father has had 5 children by 5 different women. And each of those women, they're all in their 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. They've had big lives. But in the film, they only have a David life. They have no past. They have no future. They just have that moment in time. And that itself is compressed, into from 6 or 7 or 20 years into 3, 4, 5 minutes. So it's sort of it appears to be an impossible task, and yet there's something about what people convey that if they're able to convey it and you're able to capture it, it's almost enough.
There was little to say and even less to do. What more can an estranged father and daughter expect from a broken pelvis, shattered wrist Sunday afternoon? So I just stared at you through a viewfinder and decided this will be our year 0.